Good morning. Give everybody a chance to get logged in. While everybody's getting logged in, go ahead and get out your homework. I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the screen for you to check your work. What we'll do is I'll give you a minute to check it. And then we'll look and see if we have any questions. So let me get everything pulled up real quick. Let's see. So remember when we left off the other day, we had covered this section on special products. And I told you guys that if you were not able to work with those patterns that they show you on special products, just FOIL, okay? Don't stress about it. Don't spend time, worrying about it, because you can always FOIL to find your answers, special products or whatever, okay? So what I'm going to do is let me get this erased and we'll flip back. So remember, these are assignments that are supposed to be on paper. So you're checking your work. We had page 141, activities 2, and 142, activities 3. So I'm going to want to see your work on these. Okay, so let's go ahead and check your answers. This is page 141, activities 2. Check your answers. Okay, are there any of these that you would like to go over? Oh, here comes Sadie. All right, check your answers on page 141. I'll tell you what, once you've checked your answers, give me a thumbs up so I know you're ready to move on. All right, is there anybody that has questions? Are there any of these that you want me to work? Any of them that you're not sure what to do? All righty, let's move on to the next page. We had page 142, activities 3. If it makes it easier for you to check them, I can call them out. So what we can do is go down the left-hand column. They're on the screen as well, so if you can't understand something or whatever, but I'll read out the left-hand column, then the right-hand column. So on the left-hand column, the first one, x squared plus 18x plus 81. And actually I can go ahead and we'll just go underneath that one is x cubed plus 2x squared plus 4x plus 3. After I read out an answer, if you have a question and you want me to work it, just go ahead and stop me. The one underneath that is 9x squared minus 4. Then I have x cubed minus 7x squared plus 9x plus 9. Then x cubed minus 2x squared minus 39x minus 20. Then I have x squared minus 2x plus 1. And the last one in that column, x to the 4th plus 3x to the 3rd minus 7x squared minus 27x minus 18. Any questions on the left-hand column? All righty. Right-hand column. Okay, the first one is 2x cubed plus 17x squared plus 17x minus 6. Underneath that one is 16x squared minus 24x plus 9. Then I have x squared minus 121. Then I have 6x cubed plus 31x squared plus 6x minus 54. Underneath that is 12x cubed plus 2x squared minus 11x plus 3. Then I have 16x squared plus 40x plus 25. And then the last one, I think my number got cut off on this one. So I have 15x to the fourth plus 14x cubed plus 11x squared minus 44x minus 56 is the last term. Any questions on the right-hand column? Any of these that you missed, you're not sure why? Any that you need help with? Okay.
Can you repeat number 3 on the right side?
Right-hand side, third one down. 1, 2, 3. The x plus 11 times x minus 11 is x squared minus 121. Any other questions? Okay, remember, look at your paper. You should have done this on notebook paper. You should have shown your work. It should be labeled that it's pages 141 and 142, activities 2 and 3. And if you have already checked it, if you need to make corrections, and then you'll have it ready to turn in when we return week after next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's see who we're missing today. I have Zoe Owens and Micah. Let's see if they're, make sure they're not joined to another class. If I can get into my phone and get my email. Hold on. Okay, I'm not showing that they're joined any other classes. All right. Okay, any questions on those? All righty. So today we're going to be moving on to lesson 65, dividing by a monomial. Okay. So lesson 65, this is page 143. And it says to divide a polynomial by a monomial, divide each term of the polynomial by the binomial. So circle that each term, okay? Because that's going to come in handy, or that's going to be something that we really have to pay attention to, especially when we deal with multiple terms, okay? All right, so we have to divide each term. Now, one of the things that I want to do real quick is let's review something about exponents. Remember that when I multiply, I add my exponents, and that's what we've been doing. When I have 2x times 2x, it was 4x squared, because that was the same as having x to the first power times x to the first power. So we added 1 plus 1 is 2, okay? So x times x is the same as x to the first times x to the first, which is the same as x to the first plus 1, x squared. Okay, those are all the steps that what we've got to look at. So when I'm doing x times x, that's the same as x to the first times x to the first. I add those exponents, so I end up with x to the second. That's multiplying. But remember, if I divide x divided by x, that's the same as saying x to the first divided by x to the first. And if I add when I multiply, remember, I'm going to subtract when I divide. So that's going to be x to the first, and 1 minus 1 is going to be x to the 0. Now, this is where we have to think about any number to the 0 power equals 1. Okay, so that's what this says right here. Remember, anything raised to the 0 power equals 1. So the first thing to remember is that when I'm dividing exponents, when I'm dividing a variable with an exponent, I subtract those exponents. The second thing I have to remember is if I end up with anything to the 0 power, that's equal to 1. Okay? So those are a couple of things that we've got to look at. All right. There are several things that you can do. This talks about how polynomials can be written using long division. We're going to work through that. We'll do examples of it, but if you do not understand it and you do not see it, do not worry about it, okay? Because one of the things, if I'm looking at this example right here, one of the things that I like to do, because I see it better, is to write everything when I'm dealing with division, especially with polynomials. I like to write it in fraction form because I'm able to see them stacked on top of each other and I can relate better. So what I'm going to do is, let me erase this little section right over here. And then I'm going to come over here, and in this example, I've got 6x squared minus 3x divided by 3x. So I've got 6x squared minus 3x divided by 3x. Remember up here when I said I have to divide each term, that means I have to divide 6x squared by 3x. And then I have my minus 3x divided by 3x. It's the same. It's kind of like the distributive property when I have to multiply, except for in this situation, I've got to divide 6x, by 3x, and I have to divide negative 3x by 3x. I have to multiply every single term inside parentheses by the number that is being divided by. Any questions about that so far? Oh, here comes Zoe. Okay, Zoe, at the break, we'll check your homework. We were just starting with dividing on page 143, lesson 65. We said that when I divide a polynomial by a monomial, I have to divide each term of the polynomial by the monomial. So one of the things that I said, what helps me see it better is to write it as a fraction. So in this situation, we have written 6x squared minus 3x divided by 3x as a fraction. So now I'm able to see this better. And so think about when I am, again, when I divide variables with the same exponents, I am going to subtract. Also, I can go ahead and cancel here. I can look at these, and when I have my numbers stacked, I can say, hey, I can see that 6 and 3 divided by 3 is 1, 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I'm able to cancel those super easy. What I do with my variables is notice that when I subtract here, I'm going to cancel this guy because I'm going to subtract that one right there. So after I subtract it, I'm going to go ahead and write my new exponent there. So what I did is I said, hey, x to the first or x to the second hold on, let me get my pen to write right. X squared divided by x to the first is the same as x squared minus 1. So that's x to the first. So I like to cancel it. So that means this x squared down here cancels out. X squared up here becomes x to the first. Any questions about that?
No, ma'am, thank you. I got in a little late. I thought my alarm didn't go off, but actually I forgot to set it off.
Oh, goodness. Okay, that's okay.
now, and then I look and I see what time it is and like run.
We'll get you caught up. Okay, now by canceling, I'm able to see now that in this problem right here, I have a 2x left in my numerator. Everything else in my denominator became a 1. So now when I look over at minus 3x divided by 3x, well, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and x divided by x is 1. Because remember, if I've got x divided by x, that's the same as x to the first divided by x to the first, which means I have x to the first minus 1, x to the 0 power we just talked about equals 1. So when I have x divided by x, those cancel out to make the number 1. Okay? So let me erase right here. So now we can see here I have 2x left in my first problem. Hold on. Get my equal sign. So I've got 2x here, but I cannot forget this part right here. Here's my sign, so it's going to be minus, and I've got 1's in the numerator, 1's in the denominator, and 1 divided by 1 is 1. Okay, so even though everything on my second terms, my 3x divided by 3x, those just cancel out to make 1, I have to make sure I put it in my answer. So I end up with 2x minus 1. Okay. So the main things we've got to focus on here is I have to divide each term, and anything to the 0 power is 1. Now, one of the things they said here is I can use long division. So again, just like when I use long division, and let's say I had 3 into I don't know, 121. Okay. And I said 3 won't go into 1, but 3 will go into 12. And so I would put my 4 up here. What I'm doing here is I'm taking my first term here and saying that 3x will go into 6x squared 2x times. So basically I'm saying what times 3x gets me to 6x squared. Okay, so it's 2x. So then I multiply 2x times 3x, and that gives me 6x squared. Well, 6x squared minus 6x squared is 0. Then I bring down my 3x, or I'm sorry, my negative 3x. And 3x will go into negative 3x, negative 1 times. And negative 1 times 3x is negative 3x, and negative 3x minus 3x is 0. Again, the long division, if it's something that you do not like, you do not have to use it. If it is something that you are comfortable with and you understand it, great. But if not, you can always go the route that we're working on where I'm dealing with fractions. To me, I find the fractions to be easier because I can cancel real easy. They're stacked on top of each other, so it's more confined. I'm not spreading out and going down using a long division problem. Again, you're totally able to use whatever works for you. Okay, let me get this marked out real quick so we can use this whole little area. Make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to practice with these. All right. At any point, if you do not understand what I'm doing, please stop me and ask questions. Okay, so I've got 20x minus 16 divided by 4. Remember, that means that I've got, come on, 20x divided by 4 minus 16 divided by 4. Any questions on how I wrote my problem? I took my first term, 20x, divided by 4. My second term is negative 16, and so I just put the minus there in between them, divided by 4. Any questions? All right, now I start canceling. And I can look at 20 over 4, and I can see that both 20 and 4 are divisible by 4. And 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 20 divided by 4 is 5. Any questions there? Same thing with my next one. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Any questions there? All right, so notice now that I've got 5x over 1, which is just going to be 5x, minus 4 over 1, which is just going to be 4. Any questions there? All right, let's look at the next one. 9x squared plus 12x divided by 3x. So I'm going to set it up as 9x squared over 3x plus 12x over 3x. Please make sure you are doing this with me. Please make sure you are writing it in your book. The whole point of doing the practice in your book is for you to get ready to do your homework, and so you know what to do, okay? All right, so we've set this up where we have 9x squared over 3x, or 9x squared divided by 3x, plus 12x divided by 3x. All right, so I'm going to start my canceling. And I look and I can see that starting at the beginning. Basically, I've got 9 divided by 3. So I know that they're both divisible by 3. I know 9 divided by 3 is 1. So that, but if I keep my denominator, I'm going to have a 1 there and a 3 there. Okay. Now, right here with x squared divided by x, as you practice, you'll get more proficient with this. But remember, this is the same as x squared divided by x, which is equal to x squared minus 1, because I'm going to subtract those exponents. 2 minus 1 is 1. So this x cancels out. This exponent reduces to a 1. Any questions on how I did that or why I did that? Okay, so those cancel out. So now I can see that in here, I've got 3x to the first power left. Okay, so basically that's just 3x. Now I come over here and I've got 12x divided by 3x. Again, my x's are just going to cancel out because that's x to the first divided by x to the first. That means x to the first minus 1, x to the 0 is 1. And then 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So now I can see that I've got 3x plus 4 as my answer. Any questions? Okay, let's look at the last one. Remember, I have to divide each term inside parentheses by the term outside parentheses. So in this one, I've got 3 terms to divide. So I've got 2x cubed divided by 2x. I've got 4x squared divided by 2x, and I have negative 6x divided by 2x. So I'm going to set these up. 2x cubed over 2x plus 4x squared over 2x minus 6x over 2x. Now we're going to start canceling. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so those cancel. X cubed divided by x. My x down below is going to cancel. My exponent here is going to reduce by 1, so it becomes a 2. So x cubed becomes x squared. Any questions about that? Okay, now my next one, I have 4 over 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Then I have x squared divided by x. My x cancels here. This exponent becomes a 1. So now that middle term is now 2x. 2x to the first, which is the same as 2x. Minus 6x divided by 2x. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. X divided by x cancels. So now when I go back, I can see in my first one, I've got x to the second power. In my second one, I've got 2x to the first power. My sign in between is a plus sign. So I have x squared plus 2x. Then I have a minus sign that's going to go next. And then all I have left here is 3 over 1, which is the same as 3. So my answer is x squared plus 2x minus 3. Any questions on those? Dividing variables with exponents, you just subtract the exponents. But remember, you've got to subtract the top exponent minus the bottom exponent, okay? So remember, in subtraction, order matters. So I have to make sure that when I'm dealing with my exponents, I take whatever my top, my numerator exponent, and subtract my denominator exponent. Okay.
What would you do if you got negative exponents?
Okay, so what lesson is that? Hold on just a minute. Trying to flip back to what lesson that was in at the beginning of the year. Didn't we do that already? Okay, go back to lesson 2. Okay, flip back to lesson 2. It's on page 5. Remember that if I have a negative exponent, if you look at the very, very bottom, when a number has a negative exponent, take the reciprocal of the number. Okay, so the numerator and denominator switch places. Let's go ahead and do this real quick. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. If I had, let's say I've got 2x squared plus 4x. Ooh, what'd you do? Go away. Divided by 2x squared. Okay, let's say I'm dividing by, and so I have 2x squared over 2x squared plus 4x over 2x squared. I can see that my 2x squared plus 2 over 2x squared, those cancel out. So I'm dealing with this right here. So 4 divided by 2, those would cancel. So now I'd have 2x over x squared. So that means I'm going to have my x to the first minus 2. So that gives me x to the negative 1. Okay, so now I'm going to have 2x to the negative first power. That means that I've got x to the negative first power. So that's going to have to flip. So remember right now, that would be 2 times, so it would be 2 over x, because I would have to flip it, because x to the negative 1 is equal to x to the negative 1 over 1. So if I flipped it, it makes my exponent positive. Okay, we won't be dealing with that this year. That'll be something more for Algebra 2 later on. But the main thing to know is if you have a negative exponent, you have to take the reciprocal to make it positive. Okay, if the directions tell you all exponents have to be positive. Okay, but we're not going to worry about that right now. But I just wanted you to see there is something that you would have to do. We're not going to worry about that right now. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look over on page 144. Page 144. All righty. Let's go ahead and set this one up. I'm going to have 20x divided by 5 plus 5 divided by 5. So I can see that I start with my beginning, and I have 20x divided by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 20 divided by 5 is 4. My next one, 5 divided by 5, is going to be 1 over 1 or just 1. So I'm left with 4x plus 1. Remember, when I'm right here, if those cancel out to be 1s, that does not go away. Remember, I still have to have that in my answer. If it's positive, it's plus 1. If it's negative, it's minus 1. Any questions on that? Okay, let's go to the one next to it. 15x squared divided by 3x plus 9x divided by 3x. Three divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. X squared divided by x. My x in the denominator cancels. My exponent decreases by 1. So now I have 5x in my numerator plus 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And x divided by x is 1. So I'm going to have 5x plus 3. Questions? Let's move to the next one. Notice here I have got 3 terms. So that means I have to have 15x cubed divided by 3x plus 9x squared divided by 3x minus 12x divided by 3x. So if I have 3 terms, I've got to divide by 3x 3 times. Okay. So let's go ahead and cancel. 15 over 3 is going to become 5 over 1. And if you just want to cancel out in the bottom and not write a 1, that's fine too. I just want you to see that it becomes a 1. Now I have x cubed divided by x. Remember, since I have x to the first in the denominator, and that's going to cancel, my exponent down here my exponent in the numerator reduces by 1. So now I have 5x squared plus 9 divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. X squared, my x in the denominator cancels. This reduces by 1. And then my last one, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. My x's cancel. Now the biggest thing right here is when you're canceling and rewriting your numbers, you've got to pay close attention that you don't, when you go back to find your answer, that you make sure that you identify everything that's left. Because it would be super easy to miss this little guy right here that's still there. I reduced his exponent, but that doesn't mean he's gone. So in my first one, I've got 5x squared. My denominator is a 1, so I don't have to write it, plus 3x to the first. So that's just 3x minus 4. So if it helps you to slow down before you write your answer and look to see what is left, make sure you don't have stray marks that make you think something is marked out or canceled that is not. Okay, so write neatly, make it organized, do whatever you've got to do to make it clear. All right. I want you to go ahead and work this one. You're going to have 14x divided by 7 minus 14 divided by 7. Go ahead and work this one. Did you get 2x minus 2? If you didn't and you would like me to explain it, please let me know. Okay. Okay, let's look at the next one. 8x squared divided by 2x minus 14x divided by 2x. Go ahead and work this one. Did you get 4x minus 7? Any questions? Go on to the next one. We've got 3 terms. 12x cubed over 4x plus 4x squared over 4x minus 20x over 4x. Check it. Did you get 3x squared plus x minus 5? Any questions?
I didn't have the x in there because I thought I just canceled to 0.
Okay, so yeah, so be careful about that. That's what I was going to say. On that one, my 4's canceled, but notice when I reduced this guy right here, he was x squared. I canceled this x in the denominator, but my 2 had to reduce and become 1, so I still have x there. Okay, so be careful, careful, careful not to miss out on a term. So the 4 canceled and my denominator canceled completely. But my x squared in the numerator became x to the first. So it's still my middle term. Any questions? All right, let's go ahead and look at the middle row. I want you to go ahead and work on this middle row, these 3 in the middle, okay? These are going to be the last 3 we do together. Then the last 2 columns or the last 2 rows will become homework. So as you're waiting, if you finish up the middle row while we're still waiting, you can go ahead and keep working on the bottom row. And if you finish that, then you've got your homework done. So this is homework. Today is what, 4-8 or 2-8? Good grief, 2-8. So we're working on those middle ones, but if you finish before we check them, you can keep going.
Are we supposed to do the bottom column on notebook paper or in the book?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, we need it on notebook paper.
Do you want us to number them side to side?
We can go ahead and do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll go ahead and be working through and putting the answers for the middle column so you can check yours. As you're checking your answers, if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. And remember, if there's ever anything that you get hung on and you need to go back and watch the video from class, that's posted on my YouTube page. I post them at the end of every day, whether we've got the whole class in attendance or not. I go ahead and post them. So that way, some people have found it's easier just to kind of flip back to the video and go back through an example. Or you're always welcome to let me know if you need help. I'm happy to help you. So whatever works better for you, but always remember that the videos are on YouTube. So you can go back if there's just one thing that you're hung on and you want to go back and video it real quick, go back. That way you can put me on pause. You can let me do a step and pause me and do another step and pause me. Although I'm sure y'all would like to pause me quite often, and that's okay. I get it. All right, so after you've checked your answers, what we'll do is we will go ahead and get ready. We are actually, usually I'm late for break. This time I'm going to be early. So it's about 10:02. We'll take a 7-minute break. How about that? We'll come back at 11:15 and start with our next section. If you have questions, be sure to let me know.
You can we can go over my answers now.
Okay, yes, let's flip back real quick. And Micah, I don't know if you've had a chance to get caught up on anything or anybody else that needs to check homework answers. Let's see, we went back to, we had page 141, activities 2, and page 142, activities 3. So go ahead and let's look at page 141, activities 2. You want to just look at the screen to check them, or do you want me to call them out? Which is easier for you?
I can look at the screen.
Okay. Tell me when you're ready to move on, or if you need me to work something.
The last ones on the right column I got wrong. Could you work those?
Sure, these two right here, x plus 5 times x minus 5.
Yes.
Okay, so what we're gonna start is we'll come over here and I'll write FOIL. Okay, so what am I gonna multiply first?
The first is the two x's.
Okay, x times x, and what is x times x?
X to the second power.
Good. Now my outer, I'm multiplying x times negative 5. So what is x times a negative 5?
Negative 5x.
Perfect, yeah. So x times 5 is 5x, so x times negative 5 is just going to be negative 5x. Now my next one, 5 times x.
Five times x is positive 5x.
Good. And then 5 times negative 5. I have a positive times a negative, so what kind of answer am I going to have?
0.
No, I'm multiplying, okay? I'm not adding. So I've got positive 5 times a negative 5. What's a positive times a negative?
Positive times a negative is negative.
Good. And what's 5 times 5?
25.
Good. So on that one, we are multiplying, we're not adding. Okay, so yeah, if you added, they would cancel out and make 0. All right, so now I have f is x squared, o is negative 5x, I is 5x, and L is negative 25. So now look at these middle two terms, and this is where I can combine. And negative 5x plus 5x is equal to what?
0.
0. So this is where I add. This is the only place that I'm going to add when I'm working these problems, is when I combine those middle terms. All right, so now I have x squared is my first one. Now for my middle, that makes 0, so I don't have to write anything. And then my last term is negative 25, so I'm going to have minus 25. Okay, so my first one, x squared, was positive, so it's just x squared. But my last term is negative 25, so it's going to be minus 25. You good with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's look at the last one.
I have number 3. I accidentally wrote a negative sign, but it was my fault. It wasn't the way I was doing it. I just
Okay, Good. So it was just a sign writing something wrong. So process was all good. That's great. Let's look at your next one. Write out FOIL. And what are we going to multiply first?
2x times 2x.
And what is 2x times 2x?
4x squared.
4x squared. Good. Next step.
2 times 2x.
Okay, so I've got 2x times what kind of 2?
Negative 2x.
Okay, so I've got 2x times a negative 2. So what is my answer going to be?
Negative 4x.
Perfect. Okay, what am I going to multiply next?
2 times 2x.
Yeah, and what's that going to be?
A positive 4x.
Good. And then last terms,
Negative 4.
2 times negative 2 is a negative 4. Good. I look to those middle terms. What is negative 4x plus 4x?
0.
0. So those cancel. So my first term is 4x squared. My middle terms canceled out, so I have nothing. And then my last is a negative 4. So my answer is 4x squared minus 4.
Can you also do number 4 too?
Let's see. Is that the one at the top?
Yes, that's the one at the top.
Okay, so remember on this one, when I see 2x minus 4 squared, that means I'm going to multiply 2x minus 4 times 2x minus 4. Okay, I'm multiplying it by itself 2 times. That's what that exponent of 2 tells me to do. Okay, so I'm going to set up FOIL. All right, what's my first step?
2x times 2x.
And 2x times 2x is
4x
4x what?
squared.
Good. And then what?
2x times negative 4.
Okay, what is 2x times negative 4?
Negative 8x.
Good. Next step.
So negative 4 times 2x is also negative 8x.
Good. And then last.
Negative 4 times negative 4, negative 16x.
Okay, stop right there. I have a negative 4 times a negative 4. I don't have any x's, so I just have numbers. And what is a negative times a negative?
Positive.
Positive, and 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, so again, now I go to that next step where I've got to combine my middle terms. I have negative 8x minus 8x, or I have negative 8x plus a negative 8x. So when I combine those like terms, what do I have?
Negative 16x.
Good. Okay, so since I've got a lot of blue here, I'm going to circle these so we can see them better. So I can see that my first is 4x squared. I have combined my middle terms to be negative 16x, and my last term, positive 16. So I have 4x squared minus 16x plus 16. You good with that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, welcome. All right, so what we'll do is at the end of class, we'll go back and check page 144, okay? Or I can send you the answers, and then that way if you have questions, we can work through them, okay? But we're gonna keep on moving since we're back from break.
The answers would be better.
I'm sorry?
I was putting my opinion. I think sending the answers would be easier.
Okay, I'll send them to you. I'll go ahead and I'll send you those in just a minute. All righty, so now moving right along, we're on lesson 66. Okay, so we looked at lesson 65 and we talked about dividing a polynomial by a single something, whether it's a single number or a monomial. And real quick, we've talked about monomials, binomials, trinomials. And then anything that has 4 or more, I call it a polynomial. So remember, a monomial is going to be a single term. So that could be x, it could be 3x, it could be a 5. All of those are single terms, okay? When I have a binomial, that's where I have 2 terms. So like in this one right here on the screen, this right here is a binomial because the prefix bi means 2 terms. This one is called a trinomial because it has 3 terms. Okay, so binomial 2 terms, trinomial 3 terms. And then when we get to more than 3 terms, we just call it a polynomial. So I just want you to know, whenever I'm saying words, I want you to know what I'm referencing. Okay, monomial single, binomial 2, trinomial 3, 4 or more is called a polynomial. All right. So when we looked at lesson 65, we talked about dividing, and I told you that to me, it's the easiest to set it up as a division problem. We could do it using long division, but to me, it's more work that way. Now in the next section, lesson 66, unfortunately, the only way to do it is through long division. Or there is an easy, there are other ways to go through it other than long division, but to keep it organized and understandable, we are going to have to go ahead and use long division. So basically it says when dividing 2 polynomials, set it up as a long division problem. So remember, polynomial means means more than one. So in this situation, I'm dividing a trinomial by a binomial. Okay, so think about this for a minute. When I have 3 into 42, and I say, okay, 3 will go into 4 one time. 1 times 3 is 3, and I subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. I bring down my 2. 3 will go into 12 4 times, and 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, everybody's been doing long division for a while. So I'm going to be using the same process, but there's a couple of special rules here. Okay, so I go ahead and just like if this would be 42 divided by 3, that was my original problem here. So notice this number here is called my dividend. My second number is called my divisor. Okay, so the same thing here. My second term is what's on the outside of my little division house, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, my little sign that I use to divide, my second term, whatever comes after the divided by sign, is on the outside. Whatever is my first term is what's on the inside. It is being what is divided into parts. Okay, is everybody clear about that, about what goes where with a regular division problem? Same thing with these. So whatever comes after the division symbol is on the outside of my long division problem. Whatever was first is under my little division house. Okay, any questions on how to set it up? All righty, now let's look at our rules. Okay. And also, I'll tell you that in your book, if you see this little symbol right here, for some reason, when certain series of the books were printed, they had the little square root symbol. It's actually supposed to be divided by. Okay, so if you have that, go ahead and change that to a divided by sign. And just know that a lot of times in the textbook, for some reason, and I'll try to catch it, I'll try to mention it to you every time I see it. But it happens a few times, and it's in some books, but not all. Some books have been corrected and they have the division sign, but I just want you to know that. Okay, so it says treat this just like doing long division, dividing the first term of the dividend by the first term of the divisor. Okay, so basically, if you don't remember which one's the dividend and which one's the divisor, that's okay. You're just saying first term into first term. Is everybody good with that? So step 1, divide first term by first term. So in this particular situation, it's like I have 2x squared divided by x. Okay, so if I was writing this out in fraction form, this x would cancel, this would become x to the first. So basically this is 2x. So that is what is up here. But notice that now when they're writing that 2x, it is actually over the second term. And the reason for that is because remember when I do long division, real quick, in case you don't remember, D MSCB. Did everybody learn that for long division? DMSCB, does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? Whatever that stands for, divide, multiply, subtract, compare, and bring down. Okay, so DMSCB are my steps for long division. Usually when we do long division with just numbers, it's just old habit and we do the same thing and we don't really think about it. When I'm dividing polynomials, sometimes I might get a little hung up and go, okay, I did this, but what do I do now? Okay, so my first step was to divide. That's what we did first. And we divided the first term into the first term, all right? First term divided into first term. So we said that that was 2x. Now, my second step here is multiplication. So now I've got to multiply what I just wrote up here. I am multiplying this by my polynomial. Okay, so just like divide, multiply, I'm doing the same thing. So I divided first and I got my number at the top, my first part of my quotient. When you hear quotient, that's the answer to a division problem. So I've got my first part. So now I have to multiply 2x times x plus 2. So think about that for a minute. If I have 2x times x plus 2, 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 2, or times a positive 2, is plus 4x. Everybody good with that so far? So that is what I write underneath here, 2x squared plus 4x. Okay, I've divided. Now I've multiplied. My next step is to subtract. So now I'm going to subtract. 2x squared minus 2x squared cancels out at 0. But now I have 7x minus 4x. And that's going to be 3x. Everybody good with that? Now, the compare part we're going to skip over that for this part. Compare is when I'm multiplying, when I'm dividing. Where'd it go? Over here. And I said, and I multiplied 1 times 3. And 4 minus 3 is 1. My compare part is I make sure that this number is smaller than this number outside. That means I've divided it enough times. That's in regular long division. So in this section, the compare part, we're not going to worry about. What I do need to worry about now, though, is the bring down. And what I'm going to bring down is plus 6. Okay? Is everybody good with that? Now I start over. I've got to divide again, and I'm saying x plus 2 will go into 3x plus 6 how many times? So basically I'm thinking about what can I multiply by by x plus 2 to equal 3x plus 6? And I can see that if I multiply x plus 2 times 3, that gives me 3x plus 6. But it would have to be by a positive 3. And then 3 times x plus 2 is 3x plus 6. I subtract that, and I have 0 remainder. Okay? It's going to take some practice. This is probably brand new. You've probably never seen this before. Whereas multiplying monomials by binomial, we worked with some of that previously last year in pre-algebra. This is something brand new. It's going to take some time and it's going to take some practice. So be patient, okay? So remember, we're doing divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and then we start over. Okay, so let's practice with our next ones. Let's practice with our classwork. Okay, I'm going to set this up as a long division problem. So that means I'm going to have x plus 2 on the outside. I'm dividing into x squared plus 5x plus 6. My first step is to divide my first term into my first term. So I'm dividing x into x squared, okay? And remember that when I do this, where I write my number, where I start writing my quotient is over the next term. So when I write my quotient of x, it will go over 5x.
Why is it over the second term and not the first?
Because when I'm multiplying my next step, I'm multiplying by these two terms.
Oh.
So when I multiply by 2 terms, I'm going to end up having 2 terms right here. Okay, I'm glad you asked that question because a lot of times I want to make sure that everything's making sense. There is a reason for everything. It's not just because, there is a reason for it. Okay, so because when I multiply, I'm going to be multiplying by 2 terms, so I'm going to have a 2-term answer. So now I multiply x times x plus 2. So x times x is x squared. X times a positive 2 is plus 2x. Is everybody good with how we got there? Okay, I have divided. I have multiplied. What is my next step going to be? Next, I'm going to subtract. Okay. So x squared minus x squared cancels out. That's 0. Now now this is where I have to pay close attention, okay? I've got 5x, a positive 5x, minus positive 2x. So remember, I'm subtracting here. So 5x minus 2x is going to be 3x. I'm sorry?
I was answering your question. Is it positive 3x? No.
It is. Good job. Okay. Now I have subtracted. I've got to bring down my next sign and number. So that's going to be plus 6. Okay. So now I'm going to start dividing again. And I'm dividing x minus 2 into 3x plus 6. An easier way for me to think about this is instead of thinking about it as division, thinking about it as reverse multiplication. Okay, so it's easier for me to say, what can I multiply x minus 2 by to equal 3x plus 6? So basically I can think about,
Isn't it x plus 2?
It is. Thank you. There we go. So now I'm thinking about what can I multiply x plus 2 by to get to 3x plus 6. And I know that if I want to get from x to 3x, I multiply by 3. So now I test it with my next term. If I multiply 2 by 3, I also get 6. So now I know that because both of them are positive, it's going to be a positive 3. And again, now I multiply that 3 times x plus 2. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 2 is 6. When I subtract, all of that cancels, and I am done. Questions? It's going to take some time and it's going to take some practice. Let's keep working.
How do you get that 3 though?
Okay, so what I did is I said, hold on a second. When I was right here and I'm dividing x plus 2 into 3x plus 6, I basically said, what times x plus 2 equals 3x plus 6? Okay. And I can see that if I've got an x here, what can I multiply x by to get 3x? 3. And if I multiply by 2, what can I multiply by to get to 6?
3.
3. So I see that right here, my question mark is a 3. Because it is positive, I put a plus sign in front of it.
Okay.
Okay, so basically, if it helps you to kind of look at it like this, saying what times this outside equals this right here. That helps me to see it better than to think about 3x plus 6 divided by x plus 2. That kind of blows my mind. So I have to kind of step back and go, hey, I'm much more comfortable saying, what can I multiply by x plus 2 to equal 3x plus 6? Okay, so that may be an easier way for you to look at it if it's something that you're not comfortable with. So let's start with the next one. I want to find another color. I'm kind of tired of the red and the blue. Let's go purple. How about that? All right, let's set it up. On the outside, I have x minus 1 into x squared minus 2x plus 1. Let me make sure I got my signs correct this time. X minus 1, I'm good there. I have a minus and then a plus. Got that. Okay, so let's think through this. First step, I'm dividing x into x squared. X will go into x squared x times. I put it over my second term because now I've got to multiply x times x and x times negative 1. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 1 is negative x. Is everybody good with me so far? I have divided. I have multiplied. So now I'm going to subtract. So I subtract these. X squared minus x squared is 0. Now, this is where I've got to pay close attention. Notice here, and I will put this in yellow so it'll stand out. I've got negative 2x minus a negative x. Negative 2x minus a negative x. Remember, when I've got this minus a negative, this is the same as negative 2x plus x. Pay close attention to your signs. Minus a negative becomes plus a positive because that is saying negative 2x minus the opposite of x, okay? So, or I'm taking, the negative of negative x. So minus a negative becomes plus. So negative 2x plus x is going to be negative x. So now I've got negative 2x minus a negative x is going to equal negative x. My next step is to take my sign and my next number and bring it down. So plus 1. Is everybody good so far? Now, this is the point, like I said, this is the point where it's easier for me to say what times x minus 1 equals negative x plus 1. So think about this. I've got x becoming negative x. I have minus 1 becoming plus 1. What could I multiply by that would change my signs?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. Good. So I'm going to put minus 1 up here. Because it's negative 1, I'm going to have minus 1 in my answer. And now I multiply negative 1 times x minus 1. And I've got -1 minus x. I'm sorry, -1 times x is -x. -1 times -1 is +1. Those cancel out and I'm done. So my answer to this one is x minus 1. Any questions about what we did in that problem? All right, let's look at the next one. I'm going to set up my problem and I'm going to have 2x plus 1 divided into 2x squared minus 3x minus 2. What is step 1? Divide first term into first term. 2x will go into 2x squared. Remember, if you need to, come out to the side and say this is the same as 2x squared, whatever that number is on the inside, divided by 2x. That's the problem that I'm doing right now. 2x squared divided by 2x. 2's cancel. This x cancels. This becomes x to the first power. So I can see that 2x squared divided by 2x is going to be x. Now I multiply. X times 2x is 2x squared. X times a +1 is plus x. Now I'm going to subtract. 2x squared minus 2x squared, those cancel. Pay close attention to our signs now. -3x minus a +x. Again, if you need to change this, this is not -3x plus x. This is -3x minus x. So if I needed to change that, I could have -3x plus a -x. So a -3 plus a -1 is -4. So -3x plus a -x is -4x. Okay, this is the part where the signs are going to be super tricky if you're not proficient with these signs yet. If you are still struggling with signs, make flashcards, make a note to yourself where you can look back and say, okay, you know, when I'm subtracting or when I'm adding or when I'm multiplying, when I'm dividing, this is what I need to do with my signs, okay? If you need help, let me know. I'll be happy to help you write out something. We can look at it so it makes sense for you to have to look back to, but you've got to know these things, okay? If you have not just memorized this, then it's not kind of second nature by now. This is something you've got to continue practicing because it will continue to be a problem throughout the rest of math if you don't take care of it now, okay? So we've got -3x minus a +x. And we said we found where that is -4x. -3 minus x is -4x. Take my last two, my sign and my last term, bring it down, so that's -2. Now I have -4x minus 2. So here I'm saying what times 2x plus 1 equals -4x minus 2. If I see that I started with a +2x plus 1 and I ended up with a negative minus something, I know I'm multiplying by a negative number because I've got to change from a positive to a negative. And also when I look here and I say, okay, how do I get from 2x to 4x? I can see that I multiply by 2. If I get from 1 to 2, I've multiplied by 2. So I'm going to have to multiply by -2. -2 times 2x is -4x. -2 times a +1 is a -2. So -4x minus 2 is -2. So up here in my answer, I have minus 2. And we just saw where that is minus 4x minus 2. That's my 0. So my answer is x minus 2. Questions? Okay. Let's go ahead. I want you to use these that we've just done as your example. And I want you to work on the first problem right here. In activities 2, I want you to do the first problem. You can give me a thumbs up when you're done. Okay, let's start working through this. If you're stuck, follow along. Step 1, divide the first term by the first term. So x squared divided by x is equal to x to the first, which is the same as x. Okay, so x is going to go over my second term. Now I'm going to multiply x times x times 2. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. The reason I have a plus sign in the middle is because it is positive. Not add them up, subtract. X squared minus x is 0. 7x minus 2x. 7x minus 2x is going to be 5x. Now I bring my sign and my last term down. Now I'm saying what times x plus 2 equals 5x plus 10. So I can look and say, hey, to get from x to 5x, I multiply by 5. And to get from 2 to 10, I also multiply by 5. I wrote a 2. Multiply by 5. So I know that x plus 2 divided into 5x plus 10 is a positive 5. Write a 2. So then I multiply 5 times x is 5x. 5 times positive 2 is plus 10. Subtract, and that's 0. So my answer is x plus 5. Okay. If you got that answer, Give yourself a pat on the back. If you didn't get it, look to see, did you make a mistake in calculation? Did you make a mistake with signs? Or did you not do the right steps in order? Okay. One of the things that I really want to stress to you guys with doing these things is, number one, you're not expected to get it right the first time or the second or the third. It takes practice. That's why I give you numerous problems to practice with. And don't be too hard on yourself when it takes you a few tries to get it. It's okay. What is not okay is you go, I didn't get it, and you just don't even try, okay? That's where the problem comes in. Take your time, go through the steps. If you're not sure what to do, look back to our previous example and go, hey, I did this and I did this. This is what I need to do next, okay? Part of learning is assessing where you made your mistakes and looking at how to fix them. All right, that's going to be on anything you do, any class, whether it's a history, a science, a math, whatever class it is. If you make a mistake on something, you have to say, well, hey, I missed this, but why did I miss it? Oh, now I see why I missed it, so now I can do better next time. Okay, and when I say do better, this is nothing about your self-worth and your value. Okay, please know this is math. This does not define who you are or what kind of person you are. God above defines that. Okay. So do not, I worry about you guys getting so stressed about whether you can do math or can't do math. All of you can do it. It just may take some more practice for some than others. And we all have strengths and weaknesses. Okay. So don't be too hard on yourself. I'll go ahead and get off my soapbox and let's go ahead and work the next one. Go ahead and work the next one. Give me a thumbs up when you're done. Working on that middle problem. Okay, we're going to get ready and go through these. And one of the things that you may find that helps you, number one, you can talk out loud when you're at home by yourself, or even if somebody's around. I don't know if it was like my children and there was another sibling around, we'd have an all-out war because one person's talking and the other person doesn't want them to talk. But anyway, say it out, say the steps out loud, just like I do when I'm teaching you guys. And I say, I'm doing this. First step, do this, then this. Say your steps aloud. The more you say it, the more you practice it, the more it gets in your head. So when you sit down to do it, it's going to be so much easier. So step one, divide the first term by the first term. X will go into x squared, x times. I put that x over the second term. So now I multiply. X times x is x squared, and x times negative 3 is going to be negative 3x. Okay, x times negative 3 is negative 3x. Now I'm going to subtract. This is where I start kind of slowing down and saying I got to pay close attention to signs right here. X squared minus x squared cancels because that's going to be 0. Now I have positive x minus negative 3x. Okay, positive x minus negative 3x. Remember, minus a negative becomes plus. So x plus 3x, whoop, I wrote a 4. I was thinking of what my answer should be. X plus 3x is 4x. Minus 12 is my last term, so I bring that whole term down, minus 12. Then I think about, okay, what times x minus 3 equals 4x minus 12? Hopefully by now you're starting to see it a lot faster. Oh, okay, I've got to multiply that by 4 and that by 4. So I can see up here, it will be a positive 4. And 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Questions? X plus 4 is that solution. All right, one more. Okay, let's start working on this one. If you're stuck, let's take a look. First term divided by first term. 3x squared divided by x is going to be just 3x. Okay, those x's cancel. My numerator becomes x to the first. So 3x is going to be what I write as my first part of my quotient. Now I multiply 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times a negative 5 is minus 15x. Okay? Pay attention because now I have to subtract. I have negative 13x minus negative 15x. Minus a negative is going to be plus. So I have negative 13x plus 15x. Negative 13x plus 15x. Take the sign of the larger. Negative 13 plus 15 is going to give me a positive 2x. So I have 2x. My last term is minus 10. Bring it down. So I have 2x minus 10. Let me erase all this over here. Now I say what times x minus 5 equals 2x minus 10. To get from x to 2x, I multiply by 2 To get from -5 to -10, I multiply by 2. So I can see that a positive 2 is what I'm going to multiply to get to that. Erase that. So now I multiply 2 times x is 2x. 2 times -5 is -10. And there is my solution, 3x plus 2. All right, so what we're going to do for homework, let's go ahead and take a look back at page 144. I told you guys you have the bottom 2 rows on notebook paper. We've got 6 problems there on notebook paper, page 144. Now I want you to turn to page 146. Don't panic, we're not doing all of them. Page 146, I want you to do these first 2. Okay, so that's going to give you a total of 8 problems for homework. Page 146, activities 3, first 2, we'll call that the first column. Okay, that's for activities 3. Now I want you to look at activities 4. Actually, we'll go ahead and we'll work on that.
Is this homework?
So for homework, we have page 144, finish activities 2. Page 144, finish activities 2 on notebook paper. Then on page 146, activities 3, just those first 2 that I have circled, that first 2 in that column, and that'll be it. So you have a total of 8 problems that you need to have completed by Thursday. On Thursday, or between now and Thursday, I'm going to be sending you a packet. I'd planned on sending it today, but I figured I would wait till we went over these 2 sections before I sent it, since we wouldn't be actually working in it today. And we won't actually, on Thursday, I'll be showing it to you. We'll be talking about it. You will have assignments from the packet. So I will send you that packet. If not tonight, it'll be tomorrow. That'll give you a time to print it, hopefully, for Thursday. And then we will pick up here. We'll check our homework. We will work through this long division with polynomials. We'll continue working with that. And then we're going to be working with our practice sheets. Okay. So what my plan is, instead of having an actual test on this section, the packet that I'm going to be sending you that you will do work in will count as a test grade. Okay. So the packet that I send you on Thursday, the assignments that you have from it, I will not send answers to. We won't go over the answers. The answers and the practice that we're doing is from the textbook. The packet will count as a test grade, but it will be an open book, open note. You can use your notes and things like that to work through it. Okay. But for Wednesday, page 144, activities 2, finish it up. Page 146, just those 2 problems. Any questions before we go?
No,
You want
ma'am.
these on paper too?
On paper as well. You can do it all on the same piece of paper. Just, label it page 146, activities 3. Okay. So yeah, just all of these 8 problems will be on paper. There'll be something that we will turn in when we return to the co-op. If you have trouble between now and then and you need help, let me know. And if not, then I will see you on Thursday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody have questions?
On the homework, do we have to still write the notes?
No, you don't have to be writing notes right now. That's fine.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, hon.